So in this section, we're going to be talking about digging out your bunkers with the native tools or the brushes inside of Unity. So let's go into Unity. And so best practices, again, we're about ready to make some terrain changes. So what's the first thing that we do? Yeah, we got to do a backup, right? So let's, first of all, let's find my bunker. And this is the bunker that I did that's on hole one. And remember, we made these bunkers up, which is good because you're going to see how flat they are. But before we get to it, let's do a backup first. So terrain backup. And remember, I've got my inner terrain selected. I'm going to create backup. And I'm just going to call this, I like to give it, I'm going to call it pre-bunker lowering. That way, if I screw up, I can go and it has a good description. So create a backup, and that'll save. Give a pause for a second. Okay. Now we're going to find kind of like a good angle to look at here. So this bunker's a little funny in that it's sloping kind of down the hill a little bit. When normally I use RAM to make bunkers. I'm going to show you how to do it without RAM because RAM is a pay tool. And if you don't want to have to pay, that's, it's perfectly fine. I don't want to pay money if I don't have to. So the way that I would do this with brushes is I would try to lower the middle section of the bunker, okay? Avoid touching the outsides, and then smooth the outside once we got the middle lowered. I think it'll make sense once we do this. So let's go to our paint height, and we want to use a really soft brush to do this. And you can see, and hopefully maybe I'll use a little harder one so you can see and you can see how the edges of this brush don't touch the outside of my bunker because I want to leave the outside as high as I can and I want to lower the middle. So let me make this brush just a tad smaller. Okay, and you can see I've got a little bit of space. So when I move this around, I'm going to go right down kind of like the middle of this area. And the key thing here and the tricky thing here is how do we lower this to a particular depth, right? Well, I think the best thing to do here is put it on a section of your bunker. And I'm going to say right here. And remember, we've got that sample height tool. If I hit shift, and remember, so look at this, it says 21.45. That is the current height of my brush. But I'm going to put this here. I'm going to hit shift to hit that. And you can see now it samples my height as 20.74. Now you have to decide how deep do you want your bunkers to be. So I'm going to say, I'm going to want this bunker. It's a fairway bunker. I don't want it tremendously deep. So I'm going to lower this by 1 meter. So I'm going to change this to 19. All right, hit enter. And now when I come over here, it'll go down exactly 1 meter at this point. So you can see when I come over here and I'm going to start moving this down the middle, and you can see it's not really doing too much on the edges. And I'm going to move it slowly. And you can see as I get closer, it starts to deform the edges. So let me go over here now, and I'm going to go back up so I can see this and give you a better view. I'm going to move this over. And what I've done now is I've basically lowered the middle of this bunker. And depending on, and you can see that over here, it's quite low, right? And then over here, it must have been a little bit higher, so it's not quite as low over here. So what I might do over here, let me just take a look at this. I might lower a tad bit here. So let me do another sample. So now it's at 19, and I'm going to lower this by like another 0.5 meter on this side. So I'm going to change this to a 2, enter, and now you can see over here, it's going to lower just a tad bit more. And I'm not going to go all the way over here because then it's going to get really low over here. And again, if you just tap your left button, you can see it. I can do it in little tiny steps. So now I've got a bunker here, but I got this big ridge here. Well, that's where I'm going to come back and use my smoothing tool, right? So let me go really like a light brush. Let me go just a tad bigger. And now if I go around the outside here and I smooth this just around this ridge, you can see it smooths that out. I'm going to do it here too. and it makes it so it's not so steep. And this is definitely something where you're going to have to learn and adjust. And you can see that's kind of raising the bottom a tad and then smoothing out the sides. Still might be a little steep. So let me just go back and look at it from this other angle. Yeah, it's still a little steep there. So what I can do is I can do a different brush, just maybe make it a tad bigger. And you see if I smooth over everything now and I go around, but you just want to avoid as much as possible changing things too far outside your bunker. And where this becomes a challenge, I'm going to show you when we do a second one, is right now I don't have anything around here that I'm worried about messing up. So this should be fine. It's only about 1 meter deep. You can see, yeah, it looks pretty good for a bunker. But let's go to this other one. This will show you a good example. I need to be really careful on this bunker because why? Well, I don't want to mess up anything that's happening here over on this green area, right? Because if I, lower this and then I start to smooth this, I don't want this to slope down into the bunker. So if someone putts, I don't want this rolling down off into the bunker. So I'm going to be very careful over here. So let's do this one. So how am I going to do that? Well, first of all, let's go to my paint height. Let me do another sample here, right about in the middle. See how deep this is. So that says 6.42. Let me lower this. I'll try it again. I like to be consistent with all my bunkers. So I'm gonna lower this 1 meter, enter. And I got a good brush, and I'm gonna stay away, really stay away from the outside here. So I might even make this just a tad smaller. All right, and now, again, I'm gonna go down the middle, and I'm gonna keep my eyes open over here. And if I start seeing, and this side I'm not too worried about. And this is that hill that was there. Remember, there was not supposed to be a bunker here. So I'm going to go down the middle here. And now what I can do is, and I'm sorry that this screen that's showing my mouse, it might distort or you see things, but let me go over here. And what I could have done in the middle is I could have also made my brush a little smaller. So let me Control Z. So that got rid of that last stroke. You can do some undos on here, just not a lot. And I'm going to make this a little bit smaller to the middle. Yeah, I like that. And then I'm going to go bigger again on the other side to kind of match the shape of the bunker. Let me go to the other direction and do it from this side so you can see a little bit better. So now I made my brush a little bit bigger again on this side. And again, I'm just watching to make sure that I'm not messing things up too much. I'm just going to click a little bit here and a little bit there. And now you can see that my dig kind of matches the shape of the bunker a little bit. All right. And again, this is a funky bunker because I had these hills here that I had to contend with. So there really shouldn't be a bunker here. Let me go to my smooth tool and let me, I'll keep it to that one. Let me see how big, let me make it a little bit smaller first. And let me start to round this out a little bit. It's not doing, let me raise the opacity just a little bit more strength. Here it looks pretty good because I'm getting this nice steep over here. This isn't bad. I could have done a better job. I think I could have got a little bit closer to the edges so that the slope goes closer to the perimeter, but I was being a little bit more paranoid. It's easy to go back and change, make it dig more. It's hard to fill things back in, right? So I would probably come back here to my paint tool again, maybe go a little bit lower opacity, and then just work my way maybe closer to the outside here in a couple spots. Maybe just do a little bit of clicking. You can see here, but try to avoid changing my green too much. Yeah, that's looking a little bit better. Let me just move over here to the other side and check things out. Yeah, we want to get a little bit more right here. And then do my smooth tool again. Smooth that out. Sometimes you need to change the angle that you're looking at. And now you can see that it's a little flat in the middle. I got some nice lips around the outside here, some depth. So maybe I want to go back to the middle and do my sample again. So if I go my paint height, do my sample again, and maybe just lower this like 2/10 of a meter or I'm going to do 3/10 of a meter. Come back here to just the middle. Just do another spot down the middle. Another smooth here. So that way I get even deeper into the middle of this bunker. And I got this ridge here. A little bit more strength to get rid of that. And you can see what I got here. Not a bad, it's a little flat. We're gonna go, I think Ram does a much better job at this. I think this is acceptable. Not the best bunker I've ever done. This was a difficult one because of this big hill, fairly deep. But I think that might work. It might be a challenge. It might be a little bit too steep here. If someone gets stuck right here, it's gonna be really hard for them to get out. You can always fill it back in a little bit or just start over. But this isn't too shabby. So let me just show you, if I did need to fill this in, I could sample. Go back to my height tool, sample, and then maybe just add 2/10 here, so change that to 3. And then I could just fill this back in a little bit here. And then go back and make this a lot bigger, a little bit harder, a little bit more stronger. Again, I could fill that in here. You can see that's not quite as drastic now and a little bit more realistic. So if someone gets stuck in here, they can at least get out of the bunker. I can smooth these sides. This is a scenario over here you're probably never going to have to deal with because I'm trying to put a bunker inside of the side of a knoll or a hill here. That's digging bunkers. And again, best practice here is to save. So go back up to your train backup, create train backup. And so now I'm going to do post bunkers. Save. On to the next video.